This is the Speak Easy podcast, your number one podcast for talking about the behind the scenes of what it is to be a speaker and an author. Let me tell you something. A lot of times, people don't realize that speakers, authors, entrepreneurs, CEOs, the brainchild, the most wealthiest person in the world still deal with mental illness. And we saw that within the past few years, we've seen an increase in suicide. We see Robin Williams and a few others, celebrities. So we can't say that it's a rich-poor discussion. We can't say that it is based off of the color of our skin. It's not. It's that we take on a lot and have a lot going on, that there are some chemical pieces to it. And listen, the conversation just needs to be had. And so I'm excited about our guest for today because we're going to dig into this conversation. It may get a little real for y'all, and that's all right. You may need to get a little tissue. That's okay. I still love y'all. Still want y'all come back. But we definitely have to talk about this today because it highly affects us that are moving from one bracket to another when it comes to income, when you're moving from the employee to the entrepreneur. So with that being said, hey, Angie.
Hey, sweetheart. How are you?
I am doing so good. So let them know a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to dive into today's topic.
I am evangelist Angie Bee, and a few years ago, a group of Christian rap artists nicknamed me the Queen Bee because I was a syndicated radio show host and primarily would feature Christian rap music on my show, and did that for over a decade. And in the midst of doing that, I was trying to escape from a domestically violent household with 2 daughters in tow, and began dealing with some symptoms that I didn't quite understand. And so leaning towards the topic of your show today, after my first suicide attempt, I went to the church. After my second suicide attempt, I went to the community. And after my third suicide attempt, I went to the Lord. And so I applaud you and appreciate you. Not a Nancy Pelosi applause. I truly applaud you for having this topic and this discussion. If more families and more churches would have this discussion, it would not be taboo. So I am an author, TV show host, an entrepreneur. My agency is Angie Bee Productions, and we specialize in producing audiobooks for other authors. We have a nice little collection of voice actors that can bring your words to life. And I am the leader of an evangelism troupe that has traveled extensively since 2011. So to say that mental illness is at the top of my brain and all that I do, it definitely is. Because if any of my symptoms start to creep up, a lot of that foundation for all that I have mentioned can collapse. And so I'm honored to be here today. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
And that's definitely that. Let's talk about that piece. Let's start there. When we think about the conversation when it comes to mental illness, we were talking a little bit beforehand, and I said, it's in today's society, it's like one end of the spectrum or the other. It's either the running joke or it's the conversation that we just don't have. And so how have you been able to have that conversation? Have you had to have someone with you to have that conversation with your loved ones and with others? Because even if you're seeing something from the outside of somebody else and presenting it and saying, okay, I really think that you need some help, I really think that you may need to talk to someone, that conversation is not always easy.
Chad, I have had that conversation. Oh my word. Initially, the conversation was was initiated by a doctor who had to talk to my children about, okay, this is what's going on with your mom, and this is the treatment plan for her, and she's going to need a support group through this treatment plan. So my youngest, who maybe was 7th or 8th grade, if I remember correctly, she was the one who would have to say, okay, Mom, you're wearing the same clothes you had on yesterday. I don't think you took a shower. Or, Mom, I counted your pills yesterday and you got the same amount today as you had yesterday, so you didn't take your meds. And so my conversation with her was initiated from the medical provider, but then it stimulated a conversation between the two of us as she helped me to navigate my symptoms. Then having a conversation with my father, who, his first response was, oh, you just need to get rid of that trifling man you with, and then everything will be all right. You know, because sometimes fathers can look at their children, and I can only speak from a Black man's perspective because I've only been associated with Black men, but Black men will be like, my child ain't got ADHD, ain't nothing wrong with my seed. So when a child goes to their father and says, okay, they've diagnosed me with this and that, he wants to say, well, that ain't what it is. Then to have the conversation with my pastor to say, because there's an accountability issue. Well, I haven't been to church. I haven't been to Bible study. I haven't been. And he's, oh, well, you just ain't prayed up enough. You ain't fasting enough. You just ain't. Okay, so that's a whole different conversation. But the conversation that I talk about in my book, the book that I wrote with my husband, Barty, is on our first date. There was a pivotal conversation that I had with him to say a couple of things. Okay, you see me on stage. I was emceeing a concert. I'm all this. They call me the Queen Bee. I'm all that. But I need you to know these false eyelashes come off. This girdle is holding everything together in a very good way. This wig comes off, and I have alopecia, so I am completely bald. But what I need you to know is I have major depression, generalized anxiety disorder, and I control this mental illness through recognizing my symptoms, counseling, and medication. So at any time during this date, you want to walk out the door, I'm not upset. I'm just letting you know from the very beginning. I'm letting you know. And the beautiful aspect of those conversations is, talking to my children, talking to a parent, talking to a prospective mate, and talking to my pastor. That's it. Ain't really nobody else you need to talk to. Ain't really nobody else. So if you can get through those situations, you're doing good. You're doing good.
And you made that's true, that there isn't really anybody else to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people find it the hardest to talk to. Those that literally each one of those people, they find it's the hardest to talk to. It's the hardest to step up and say, there is more than me just being sad.
Well, you have to understand why it's hard for you to talk to somebody about it. Is it because you don't understand it yourself? Is it because you don't want to fess up to a limitation? Like you want to be perfect or appear to be? Like on a date, we want everything to be all right until we got broccoli in between our teeth, and then it's something different. So can you share your flaws? With the people that I've spoken to, it's never really, I'm trying to be all that. It's really, well, I don't understand it myself, so how am I going to explain it to somebody? Some people think, well, no, I don't want anybody to think I'm weird, but your daddy knows you, your children know you, your family knows you. And so most times, in my experiences, it's because you're still trying to understand yourself. The doctors have told you that it's this, and all you have is the pamphlet they gave you in Google to figure it out. But how it applies to you is something completely different. It's kind of like, now, sweetie, you too young to know anything about menopause, but it's kind of like menopause. They tell you about these hot flashes, but they don't tell you that hot flashes, that some people can kind of feel like a sizzling inside, or they don't tell you how it could be for you. They just say it's a hot flash. Well, what do that mean? If I take a cold shower, will that make it better or worse? If I drink a glass of cold wine, will that make it better or worse? Hot flashes are different for different people. Mental illness is different for different people. And we can no longer have that stigma, because we're all trying to learn.
So true. Definitely. It's never, and I think as well as, the fact that we're always growing when it comes to the treatment, and it comes to the different techniques that you can utilize as someone who is going through different stages of mental illness, that, having that continuous education is necessary.
Right.
Now, in that beginning stage, the diagnosis.
Well, the diagnosis is almost like a presenting a full plate of food. First, you got to put the chicken on the plate, then the rice, then the vegetables. The plate is building before you present it to someone. The diagnosis is just the presentation of it. And then you break it down from there. As you're compiling a diagnosis, there's always symptoms. Now, everyone's symptoms are different, so I can only speak of mine. My symptoms could be insomnia. If there's one night that I go to bed at a regular time, but I'm still waking up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and that's just one bad night. And then I might take a nap the next day, and then I can't sleep the next night because I took a nap this day. I mean, any kind of upset in my sleeping pattern can lead to problems for me. I do not do well in crowds, so it's amazing to me that God uses me to preach the gospel, because I don't never know who's gonna be out there, and I got to walk in and look at these people. It's not stage fright; it's true anxiety. And then, as a result of the domestic violence that I was in with my second marriage, I now have PTSD. So Barty and I have been married for 5 years, and there's a good chunk of those 5 years where, not that I brought in baggage, but there were things that I had to relearn because, of the domestic violence. So everybody's symptoms are different. And if you can break down, on this plate of mental illness, I need to keep my sleep pattern together. I need to eat regularly. I need to not try to do too many things at once. They call me the queen bee, as a busy bee, but there needs to be structure to that busyness, or the beehive will just collapse. And so learning your symptoms and learning how to treat each individual system, not just one pill does for all. I remember when somebody told me that BC powder was great for headaches. You just pour the powder up under your tongue and then you'd be good. Well, I started taking it for my toe aching and my back aching, and it don't work for everything. So you have to recognize your symptoms and how to manage them, and how to manage each symptom individually, just like you would eat one piece of chicken, chew it up, swallow it, then eat a piece of vegetable, chew it up, until your whole plate that has been presented to you is now clean, and go from there. And don't feel like you got to be a member of the Clean Plate Club. Don't feel like you got to eat it all. Don't feel like you got to manage it all. There are some times when I'm just like, you know what? If y'all want me to get up on time in the morning to fix breakfast, you need to let me go to bed at a reasonable hour. I don't have to try to do everything. There are times when I can say, I just need this for me. And there are times when my husband will step into a business meeting and say, no, my wife don't need to do all that. He must think I'm like Incredible Hulk. Don't stress her out. You wouldn't like her if she's stressed out. So it really, you have to look at your symptoms, how you can manage them. And then going back to the conversations, that is a great way to initiate conversation with somebody. Okay, Daddy, I'm feeling some kind of way today. So I think I need to try this, and this would be good for me. And let people know what you need. That's an easier conversation than just saying, okay, well, they done put me in the hospital for 3-4 days, and now I'm supposed to come out and be all right.
And just work it, make it all work.
Right. You can ease into the conversation that way. You can ease into the conversation when you're starting a relationship with somebody. Okay, this has been a great date, but I really need to get home. I function better in the morning if I get, good sleep. Or, I really don't want to go to that concert because I don't do well in crowds. Can we just do something a little more intimate? I really don't know about being around fireworks. I did some time overseas and, at the war, and I don't do too well. And so that opens up the door. Well, why don't you do well, around fireworks? Well, da, 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 da. And just to let you know, I also have a mental illness. And the way I knew my husband, the way God confirmed my husband was sent to me for such a time as this, is when I said to him, I have this mental illness. He looked at me and said, well, if you get sick, what do I do to help?
Mm-hmm.
You need that type of confirmation from people. You need it. And so if somebody comes to you and they say, this is what I'm going through. All right. I hear you. So what happens next? What do you need? What can I do? And why do you, I'm honored that you're sharing it with me, but what can I do to be supportive?
Which is a different response than, oh, well, you need to do. Mm-hmm. It's a completely different response.
Because, sweetie, if you think about people, like you mentioned in your opener, people that have committed suicide that were, very well known, folks always say, well, didn't they think about their children they left behind? Why didn't they call somebody to get some help? Why did, okay, that still puts the responsibility back on that person. A lot of times in the conversation, you need to be able to say, what can I do? How can I? Because mental illness is an extra baggage extra piece of luggage that we're trying to carry. And sometimes we just need you to grab the other handle and help us carry it to help lighten the load. And unfortunately, we don't do that, especially we Black women. We're so busy trying to conquer everything and take care of everybody else while we're doing it. Yeah. That sometimes we don't want to admit that we need somebody else.
Definitely. I think we as women have many hats. And it's almost as if the older you get, the more hats you have. And at some point, you think you're supposed to wear all the hats at one time.
And that also goes to show why we have body image issues. If we look at, someone with blonde hair, we want to be blonde. If we look at somebody with straight hair, we want to be straight. If we start losing our hair, we're going to go buy some hair. It has to be a whole revolution before we decide to go natural, or before we decide to shave it all off and just rock the bald look. It just, we're militant if our earrings are too big. Yeah. And I love what you said about the older we get, the more hats we get. We just have to figure out which hat we want to wear on one particular day, and not all of them at the same time.
That's it right there. And so we've had the conversation. We've, hopefully gotten some support from people. Now it comes to the advocacy part. And, okay, I know that I have my support system, but somebody else may not have their support system. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to advocate. What does that look like in the mental health field?
Well, for the summit that we have in Atlanta, Georgia, we've partnered with Kale May and her husband, Paul. And we have a summit that is a very intimate summit. It's not in a big old, arena. It's in a small meeting space so people can feel comfortable. But ideally, if you believe somebody's going through something and you don't know how to approach the conversation, take them with you to something like a summit or an information meeting or a support group. Wherever you think they need to be, make plans to go and take them with you. If you think they need to be in counseling, contact a counselor. If you're really good, pay for a few sessions for them if they don't have insurance. And go with them to the counseling session. Don't send them. And don't tell them, meet me here. Go get them and bring them. Make it a lunch date or a shopping date, or not to bribe them, but to show them that you are invested in their health. So for event planners and ministry leaders and business owners, plan a summit where conversations can be had, where meetings can take place, where people can feel a part of a community. Okay, my very first book was written after my last suicide attempt. And as I was writing it, God told me this is going to be something so that people will feel like they're not alone. So if you're an author, write a book about your experiences with a relative or with a friend. Now, make the book an outreach, be able to present it to somebody, to gift it to somebody, not necessarily to sell it to them. The name of my book is Last Week I Wanted to Die, and I have it on YouTube where I'm sitting and reading the book. People say, well, why would you read the whole book and put it on YouTube for free? Because I need people to see that it's me and there's the book. Some people are not going to read, so we have it in audio book if they want to listen to it and if they want to watch it. But most importantly, you want to be a support system for someone if you can be. Now, I have a support partner that's been in my life for 22, 23 years, I think. And she calls me weekly, sometimes bi-weekly. If she doesn't get me on the phone the first time, because that's one of my symptoms. If I'm not well, I just won't answer the phone. So if she has called me a couple of times and I didn't answer the phone, she is coming to see me, knocking on the door, I'm on my way over, just ringing the bell. She is calling my daughter, okay, when's the last time you saw her? They comparing notes. She calling my husband, what was she wearing yesterday? What was she doing? What compared to today? Accountability partners are a necessity, just like your prescription medication is important. It is a tool that you need to use along with self-care, prayer, and counseling to be able to stay healthy. Just like they say, a well-balanced diet keeps you healthy. You can't work out and eat a bunch of kale and not drink water and figure you're gonna be all right. You need it all. And that again, that's another piece of conversation you need to have. Hey, I think you're having some issues. Can I help you out? Can I be your accountability partner? We have accountability partners in business.
We show enough, no, wait.
Yeah.
We should have accountability partners in business. There's still some out there that try to do it on their own, Miss Big.
We have them in ministry, we got pastors going out to speak, but they ain't going by themselves. They're taking a few people with them just in case.
Right, they got their armor bearer. Somebody, come on.
Yeah. So why can't you, as a woman with many hats, many responsibilities, and people that look at you, to be able to function, why can't you have accountability partners?
Most definitely. And it makes a huge difference, because we have to understand too that a lot of times there are not going to be moments where we talk and want to have conversations. We just need some people to show up sometimes.
That is correct. Now, let me tell you one other thing. There are people that say, ye of little faith if you lean on medication. And I am an advocate for medication. I feel that when you pray over your medication and when you allow God to use the medication for your good, it's just like a healthy diet. It's just like feeding your soul with healthy reading and a healthy outreach. Nobody says that you have to be on medication the rest of your life if you don't need it. But like you said in the opening, some people have chemical imbalances. I remember a doctor did my blood work at one time and was like, your serotonin level is off the chart. I'm like, what does that mean? There is none. There's no chart. Most people are like on a 12, you're on a -2. Or some people talk about their iron. They always say, well, your iron needs to be between 12 and 14. But if you're down to 7, you need to take some iron pills. Right. So I am not a fan of folks that want to say, oh, well, you need to wean off them meds. You don't need them meds. You don't seem to be the type that need it. I don't seem to be the type because I take my meds. I take care of myself.
That speaks volumes right there.
If I come off my meds, what is you trying to? Mm-hmm. So don't let anybody tell you you don't need your meds. Next, they're gonna be telling you what you don't need to eat, who you need to see, where you need to live, what job you need. Do you? I pray over my pills every night before I take them, and be prepared to switch meds. I was on an antidepressant for a little bit longer than I should have been. And especially with women, our bodies change. We go through, hormonal changes once a month. And then they say about every 6-7 years, we change into somebody different. And let's not talk about menopause again. So, I mean, if your hormones are changing and what you're taking in stays the same, you're going to have problems. You're going to gain weight. You're going to lose weight. Your skin isn't going to be as clear as you want it to be. Your eyes are going to be dim. Your teeth are going to be yellow. I mean, it's an overall. So if you are a person that has started meds and you're in that 3 to 4 months where you're trying to figure out if it's working, or if you're a person that has been on your meds, the same cocktail for 6, 7, 8 years, and you wondering, oh, is it time to switch up? If you're thinking about it, talk to somebody just to be sure. Just to be sure.
And then you said that because one of the things that you talked about earlier was, there really has to be some self-care. Yeah. We have to implement self-care, and not only implement it, but implement it at a level where we're not ashamed to say no to somebody else, so that way we can take care of ourselves. We're not fearful of saying no to an opportunity or to an event because we got to take care of us. Mm-hmm. And, we all have this hustle mentality, hustle, grind it out. Well, that's great. But if you grind it out to the point where now you've grinded yourself into a hospital bed, then who did it benefit?
Well, and we also have to recognize that even Harvard Business School teaches about asking for help and not being ashamed of it. For years, I was a beauty consultant with Mary Kay Cosmetics. And at the time, 100 years ago, when I was with the company, they had something called the dovetail system. Now, dovetail was what they suggested everybody to do to double book 2 appointments in the same time slot. Because one appointment was always going to cancel, and you'd still be working. But if for some reason both appointments held, you could give that other appointment to a sister consultant who didn't have nothing to do, would appreciate having the opportunity to work, and would pay you a little percentage of what she made because of that appointment. And they would compare it to doctors. You go to your 2 o'clock appointment, but it's 3 o'clock before you see the doctor because he has double booked. He got an overhead, he got a staff, he got licenses to pay for. He can't afford for you to wake up and say, well, I don't feel like going, and then he has an empty appointment. So Harvard Business School picked up that program from Mary Kay Cosmetics, and they teach it. Now, business owners need to think about the same thing. I know that we all grinding for the same dollar, and we all trying to do it. But we don't need to be that everything. We don't need to be a jack of all trades. When you go to get your nails done, you don't want her doing somebody's eyelashes while you waiting on her to do your nails, and then she got to jump to do somebody's feet before she get. You want to have systems in place. So for me as an entrepreneur, I look to barter with other business owners. I look to collaborate with other business owners, because I'm not going to try to be preaching and teaching and learning the gospel and leading the moms in ministry and talking to teens that have mental illness and have been sexually abused and are trying to commit. I'm not going to try to do all that. But I have business owners, ministry leaders, and collaborative partners that I have reached out and asked for help. We cannot be ashamed to say, I need some help. If I can cook dinner and you can set the table, that's help. We all still get to eat, and it's all on time. So we have to work together. We absolutely have to.
Most definitely. And I feel as though us working together, we'll have so many more accomplishments and so many more things that we'll be able to say, okay, high five, we accomplished this. Let's move on to the next thing. We'll have so many more of those if we learn to work together.
Right.
It would feel so much better for us as a whole, as that accountability, that community coming together and to support each other. Now, I always ask every guest that comes on, in this journey, have you had any blunders? It could be the blunders when it came to publishing the book or working with different people. Have you had any blunders in this journey so far?
Well, I think every author has a blunder, because you get to a point where you don't know where the book should end. Should I keep writing, or I got writer's block? So that's there. As a business owner, I think my biggest blunder was taking money from my home to finance things in the business, especially things that I couldn't write off on my taxes to get that money back. Like, for example, my husband bought me a new laptop for Christmas. Most people be like, well, dang, you need some jewelry. You need some. No, I can't write off jewelry on my taxes. But by the end of the year, I can write off this laptop and this new microphone and things like that. But I talked to so many women who are like, well, I'm going to have an event, and I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to buy that, and I'm even going to use some of my food stamps to feed the people. Okay, but that money is for your household. You cannot bankrupt your household trying to finance your business. That is a blunder. And I'm sorry, but if Sears is closing and Toys R Us closed, we all do not need to have a brick and mortar. You're going to have to take you some space from your living room, dining room, the guest room, and make that into your office, and keep reinvesting until then your business can cover your household expenses for 6 months. Then maybe go get a business. So that's the business blunder. But now on the mental illness blunder, yes, I blunder on the regular. There are times when I think, okay, yeah, I can do that. And then if somebody else is looking at me saying, no, you don't need to do that, the Taurus in me be like, don't tell me what I can't do. What? Who? What? No.
Right? Who do you think you're talking to?
Yeah. And then they the first ones there with the tissue and you know and helping to pick me up off the floor when I realized that I didn't. So from a mental illness point of view, accept the care that your caregivers give you. Accept the gentle nudging that you get from your support system. Take your meds and take them on time. Don't be this, oh, I don't take no medicine. Okay, well, then you just, gonna have issues. Take time for yourself. It is great to be on that wave, riding high. And I got this going. I got another book, got this, got that. But, it's okay to sleep in. It's okay to sit by the beach. It's okay to just be still and know that He is God. If you are not doing that, that is the biggest blunder across the board.
I definitely have to agree with you there that, taking that time out for self, understanding that it's okay to say no, understanding that every opportunity is not going to be a good opportunity. Every opportunity is not going to be the best opportunity. And even if you miss an opportunity, it's never, it's never that moment of, okay, it's all falling apart now and everything is, no.
Right.
There will be more opportunities. And when no opportunities show up, you create one.
Mm-hmm. And you'll be better prepared for it because it came in the time that God sent it.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Yes, indeed. I know that, with everything that I've been through, for me, dealing with mental illness with my mother and her being in domestic violent relationship and seeing just the different aspects of it, and then not really, seeing it, but not really understanding it until it was too late. Mm-hmm. And at that point, it was like, there's nothing, absolutely nothing I could do about it. She was in a nursing home at that point and in her early 40s, in a nursing home, mid 40s, in her nursing home. And there was nothing else I could do but tell them, what needs to be done for her until it couldn't be done anymore. And
keep in mind, it's not always a situation where there was something that you could have done or should have done. I hear you say there was nothing that, a lot of times we're in those situations so that we can learn from it, avoid it, and help somebody else through it. Not that it was anything that you were supposed to do about it. I lost my mother at the age of 54. She had a massive heart attack. So does that mean I go get an EKG every 6 months? It could be. But it could also mean I don't need to smoke. I don't need to overeat. I don't need to overstress. So don't feel some kind of way, like folks say now. Don't feel that way because it wasn't something that you could have done about it. Just keep in mind that her story can help break some yokes and save somebody else in the future. And it could be you. Could be you or your children. Continue to have those conversations, not just with your mom's siblings, your aunts and your uncles. Save those conversations for the other young people in your midst. I appreciate my children for sharing their experiences with their peers. Everybody don't know what to do with their parents. Everybody don't know what to do with their children. But the more of, like you've been saying, the more of us that continue to have these conversations, the easier it is on all those different levels. So don't feel bad about it.
Most definitely. And so this is why, guys, I said this conversation was so important, because I feel as though people feel as if, when you become an entrepreneur, everything's just going to fall into place. It doesn't work that way. And there may be some triggers that you come in contact with. There may be some situations or some opportunities that open up that when you get into the opportunity, you realize that it's a whole lot more stress than what you thought beforehand. And you got to know these things beforehand. And as an entrepreneur, as a speaker, as an author, it doesn't change. You still have to be clear and have those boundaries. You still have to be clear and have that self-care. And if you don't, you leave yourself open and susceptible to like so many different things that can end in suicide and end in so many other, it could be someone who's overeating. It could be an addiction. It can be these different things. It leads to those things, but we see that there's some ways for us to pay attention to it early on. Now, no, you may not catch everything early on.
But you might not catch anything.
Right? You may not catch anything.
But be receptive to somebody who comes in your midst to say, child, you need to work on this. Child, let's do this together. Honey, I don't think you need to. Yeah, you may not always catch it.
Mm-hmm. Be open to the conversation if somebody wants to have it with you.
That is correct, because a lot of people still want to say, okay, well, she's off the chain because, the situation is domestic violence. Well, what came first? what, what came first, the diabetes or the poor circulation? What difference does it make what came first? They both need to be treated. I say in every speaking engagement when we talk about this topic, if I'm drowning in the ocean, I don't want you to stand on the beach and say, child, you shouldn't have been out there no way. You knew you didn't know how to. Okay, I don't need that. I need somebody to come out and get me, bring me out, dry me off, feed me, cover me, pray for me, teach me how to pray, then teach me how to swim before you let me go back out there. A lot of times people say, okay, you at the hospital, you're on meds, you should be all right. No, that's just me getting out the water. I still need somebody to help me figure this out and help me continue to recognize symptoms that I didn't even know. My husband recently realized that one of my symptoms is when I'm concentrating on something, I'm in tunnel vision. I don't hear nothing. So he would walk in the room and I'd hear something and it would startle me. Oh, and he'd be like, who else is in the house but me? Okay, honey, you just got to kind of understand. Okay, now I get it. So now he can. So those are symptoms that I didn't even realize I had, but it's a part of the generalized anxiety disorder. And so when you're bringing somebody out of the drowning and got them on the beach and you're cleaning them up, stay with them, because we're still drawn to the water. We still drawn to a little bit of crazy. We still because that's still a part of who we are. We just have to learn how to manage it. We still have to learn.
Definitely. So I am super excited that you were able to come on today. Let them know where they can find you and how they can get the book as well.
The books are on sale on my website, which is thequeenbee.com, DAQUEENBE, thequeenbee.com. You can follow me on Facebook. My company is Angie Bee Productions, ANGIEBEE. And there you can see the promo videos, the red carpet appearances, the Facebook Live show. You can see samples of my work if you want us to do an audiobook, because we also make promo videos for authors, so you can see all of that there. If you want to invite our traveling evangelism group to your area, you can find us on Facebook. The tour that Angie Bee presents, ANGIEBEE. And there you will see that we'll come in with the Moms in Ministry workshop, the Dads on Duty workshop. We can bring a Christian rap concert to your area, a book signing, a marriage or singles workshop. We can bring those, and we can also bring you a mighty anointed prophetic word from the Lord. So just reach out to us on Facebook. Let us know what you need and how we can be of assistance.
Definitely. I appreciate it. And guys, like I said, you guys know that I always tell you that if something resonates with you, even if you did not want to put it in the comments or you did not want to put it in the review, you can always make sure that you reach out to that particular guest. Because I never want you to walk away still needing something and that person has it. Literally, no matter what it is, there's always going to be somebody that has exactly what you need, be it for your business, be it for your life, your mental health and wellness, for your marriage. And there's always going to be somebody that has what you need. Getting in contact with them can only be a phone call, an email away, or a message at this point, because now we send everything through Messenger or DM and everybody. But never think that you have to go through it alone. There's somebody that has been through what you've been through, and they want to show you how you can overcome it. So that part is so very important. Guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget, leave a review over on iTunes by going to bit.ly/speakeasy podcast show. And with that being said, guys, until next time, don't forget to press it out. See ya.
Thank you.